So we have a full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces tonight, apexing around 10:34 p.m. Eastern Time in the United States. It's at step 25 Pisces, which is the highest degree of mastery Pisces. So it's the master, the grand master degree of Pisces. So this is rare. It doesn't happen often. And what we feel this means is that this is the official end of a spiritual story and the official beginning of a new story. We actually feel it depends on a couple of things. If you have faced your shadow and become friends with your shadow, with yourself, like if you're okay with yourself, we feel that this eclipse is going to take you to another timeline and maybe even another Earth. I don't know how deep you want to go on this down this rabbit hole. We feel if you have not faced your shadow, you're going to continue another round of your current karmic status with the world. And so in a way, this is the big divide. The people who are ready to go to the next story are basically in this Pisces full moon eclipse are saying, I forgive all this that has been in my life because I know I can create something better. If that makes sense.
The question that comes to me on that, and I totally concur with that. I
Okay.
definitely feel like I'm currently stepping through a portal where things are actually changing, and also I'm experiencing frequencies within myself that I've never, like, I said never in my life, but I would say it's been a good 8 years, 10 years since I've been feeling this way, just around certain events. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but the question I have is like, when you say that, what happens if you're in a partnership? Like,
Well, that's a good question. Well, quite often the partnership is going through it on their own terms already. And you have partnerships sometimes where well, I mean, if you have a partnership where you're not on the same wavelength, this is the final hammer. This is the final hammer to anything not on the same wavelength. Um, and what will happen is really, and this is already happening, to people. So eclipses are big events. They're when the sun, moon, and the earth all line up, right?
mhm.
So this gravitational, what happens between the three objects is the gravitational gravity between the three of them become more intense because you have this perfect lineup of the moon in front of the sun. So the moon gets in front of the sun in this case and blocks the sun, right? And no, the Earth gets in front of the sun, excuse me, and blocks the sun. And so what happens on the Earth on the moon is the shadow of the Earth is what bounces back to Earth, right? So basically, there's still dim light and shadow. And so the Earth's shadow is casted onto the moon because the sun is behind us, behind the Earth, making like a silhouette of the Earth. And so what you get on the moon is the Earth's shadow. From an astrological perspective, it means that human beings, their shadow, fears, traumas, worries, obsessions, get put up to the moon and broadcasted back to the Earth. So we get a taste for a moment of our shadow broadcasted to us in a way that we feel it another way. Now, what happens is that this event is actually spiritual. The actual geography or whatever the planetary motion is sort of the follow through of what God is already doing. That's what we think. So, like by the time you see it, God's done it, right? The event has happened, and so up to 7 days before and up to 7 days after a lunar eclipse event, people will begin to face their shadow independently of the physical event. So in the last 7 to 8 days, people have been facing their shadow, their worst fears, the pattern that goes all the way back in their life. I can't believe you just said what my father said to me for years and he was an abuser. I can't believe my boss just acted like, this person. So suddenly the shadows revealed. Now, this is the real distinction between the two classes of people. If you see your shadow as something attacking you outside of you, or you see your boss as your shadow or your wife as a shadow, going back to your relationship, if you blame something outside of yourself for what you are feeling, you're stuck on the ride one more lap. Okay. From what we can tell, when we look at all the planets and where God's trying to lead us, if you go, oh shit, that's a shadow of what I've been creating inside myself, I should stop that. Then you are on another power level because at the same time, Pluto's at 29 Capricorn, Grandmaster 29 Capricorn. It's there until November 19th. And so Pluto's saying, hey, the way you the ways people look at their control of the world, how you're in control or not in control, this is now upgrading to a higher understanding, right? So what we can tell is the understanding upgrade is in the old days, we thought we were a victim living on earth, trapped, working for the man. Everything that happens to me, it's not my fault. Why is the world picking on me? Why am I not getting ahead? Something outside me must be against me, right? The new paradigm is, oh, something inside me must be against me because my insides is working against something in my inside, which is creating this movie, virtual reality of a representation. My
Right.
boss yelling at me is what I say every time I get on the scale to myself. So I'm calling myself worthless and what's the word? Going too far with go extravagant whenever I eat. And here my boss just called me worthless and extravagant for ordering out to eat at PF Chang's. We only had 20 minutes from McDonald's. So the point is, we manifest examples, movies, little vignettes of all the shit talk we do to ourselves inside of ourselves. That's what all of our abuse is.
Yeah, and I would just want to reflect that. I have a degree in psychology. So two psychological terms comes to mind when you say that. One is the
Mm,
locus of control. So there's
mm,
an internal locus of control, which essentially means that you put the control of everything that's happening in your life internal versus the external locus of control, which should
mm.
be like that, like you're a victim to external circumstances. And then there's another thing that came to mind when you were explaining that, which is this concept of a self-fulfilling prophecy, which I'm sure you've heard of. But a
Oh yeah.
self-fulfilling prophecy from in psychology, the way that they teach us a self-fulfilling prophecy would be like if a teacher of a classroom identified students and determined which one of those students will do good and which one of them would do bad based on like how they look, how they talk, if they had an older brother or sister, that they're going to create a self-fulfilling prophecy based on their intention for their students. And what I just heard you say is that we're self-fulfilling prophesying ourselves. So
Yes.
in the morning, we're that teacher looking in the mirror, projecting how we talk to ourselves, which then goes out into reality. And then everybody else is reflecting your own patterns of how you treat yourself, which yeah, that's just another perspective. That's how I saw how you were talking about it, which is
I
amazing.
love that you brought astrology into it because you brought psychology into it because I see all the sciences and everything all seeing the same thing I see. I don't
Yes.
disagree with them. What we're disagreeing about with is how is it that we're coming to see this? They have a theory that we're seeing it through neurons and and free will. The universe just spontaneously created itself out of nowhere in the Big Bang, and we don't know where it was before that. So as far as I'm concerned, there's a good argument. They're like, you've got a lot of answers, the answer for it too. But in essence, I think everyone agrees in science now that this is a holographic universe, or many do agree, and that we all know that our mind is putting all this together anyway. So, I don't see you right now. I see my iPhone regenerating pixels that are picked up by another iPhone, sensing pixels. Then it's sent to my eyes, then it turned into data into my brain. My brain's drawing it in the back of my head, apparently.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not real.
Reciprocal.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, there you go. You and I are science and spirituality coming together. So we're on the same page in these things. What's interesting is that worldview. I mean, think of it from, you know, Christopher Columbus did not discover that the world was round. That's a myth, just so everyone knows. They all thought it was round. And if you thought it was flat, you're probably a drunkard. Like no one believed that back then. But there was a worldview that the world was flat. And now it's come back, ironically, right?
Mm-hmm.
That the world is flat. And there are people like the world is round. And at the end of the day, probably was both. If you thought the world was flat, you probably did sink the ship, because your belief structure had that. And the universe, like, sure, you're thinking going off the edge of the earth, it's actually a coral reef or whatever. The perception is what's important.
Is
So the
there
question is, do we control it or not?
is there do you have an interpretation of how like the flat world, let's call it belief, fits into an astrological framework? I mean, does astrology play a role if the world is flat?
Well, I mean, I've been injecting my own beliefs about stuff, but what's happening is people are now taking power back over their creation of the world. So
Right.
flat Earth to me is, if you believe the world is flat, it will be.
Mm-hmm.
It will be. I think God will create that. I think you'll fall off the edge. If you go too far on the edge, I think you'll experience something that will create that. This is creation animated. But the reason why I think we have this outbreak, if you will, of these rogue theories is not because we've been lied to. It's because we've been convinced to follow someone else's belief the whole time, not our own.
Right. And we're taking back. We're grabbing. We're grabbing, and we're practicing believing in other things.
Believing that we are the creator of our universe, and there are powers that be that don't want that coming out. There is for instance, climate change. Okay, now I personally believe that Mother Earth, left alone, we're not talking with whatever the hell they have going on in Canada. I mean, in Alaska with radar dishes trying to heat the ionosphere. Like, if y'all don't know, government and science is cheating all the time. They're fucking with the weather all the time. They're
Harp.
seeding stuff. They're screwing with it. HARP is what I was trying to think of. So man is interceding through science. Like, oh, we can manipulate it through science. But I've already seen in patterns, where, and we've seen from American Indians and other people, that the collective emotions of the people of that region are actually what's generating the weather. The clouds, the rains, the spontaneous rainbows, that is all the will, the collective, underneath the roof of that weather pattern right there. That's what I believe. And so there is no overall trend to warming or anything. So, it is basically, I believe that if you were happy people on your island, maybe you wouldn't be destroyed with a comet. You know what I mean? Like, that hurt the earth. You were the one island that made it,
Right.
because you didn't believe that was possible, so it wasn't.
Yeah.
Um, so we're learning that we affect our reality, and until you start to, like, that's one thing where serious joy is helpful, because we'll say, hey, this is something about to happen in your consciousness, a shift in your consciousness. We put it in your brain ahead of time, but we don't say what it's going to be ever. We don't tell you what that's going to be. We let you create it, right? And with the prompt, they do, right? And without the prompt, they don't. In fact, we had a where we could see the planets would be what we call the holy shift, or a serious alert. So we had these serious alerts that would go out. I think I've told you this, and we had to stop them because we thought we were actually talking people into creating crisis accidentally in an effort to support them in crisis. So we pulled back and stopped warning you 5 minutes before you might create a crisis, because people are like telling us we got to quit the service. We're afraid every time I go in those messages, something bad happens. And that was against what we were trying to do. We're trying to say, hey, something bad doesn't have to happen at this energetic shift. So it can go both ways, which is why we watch TV programming, in my opinion, is because if you program everyone to believe the same thing and there's enough population that believes it, I do believe the earth shifts in that direction.
Yes, which is why controlling the media is where all the power is. It's not because the elites are powerful, it's they are influencing the minds of us and the emotional patterns of us and the actions of us, and that's where the power lies.
Right. They're disrupting the creators of the reality. Right. And that's why I think depopulation is a thing. Less creators of reality, more control of reality. It's really, I think, a multidimensional game, personally. So this eclipse is actually the great escape out of the current control system, Pluto 29. And that control system was actually established the last time Pluto was 29 was the American Revolution. And at that time, we the people said, hey, you outside across the sea entity don't have a right to control my life and my perception of my freedom. I want to be free of your sticky fingers and taxes and all types of things. So we declared, we didn't even ask. We're like, we're declaring. We have basically we have the right to free speech. We have the right to this. We have the right to that. We the people, and the whole thing. So ironically, here we are in the next loop of Pluto 29. It's not our nation. The United States finds itself where Britain was. So, that's the karma. So now we're the ones, the government, interfering with the people and the freedom, and we become Britain. So that's that's one half circle of the karma. You find yourself on the other side of the fence.
Right.
So now the United States is the one working against freedom and free speech and all these things. But that's not where the fight is, because that's the echo. The fight is, forget governments. Did you know you're God? Did you know there would be
Yes.
no government without you? Did you know we the people, it's I the individual, actually, not we the people, really at the core of the power. The I decides to unite with the we, right? But the we is how we organize up here. The power is an I, the voter, the individual, the one perspective.
Yeah. And it's almost like we have our own responsibility to declare our own independence
Yes, yes, our own
away from who we've given our power to.
100%. And with the combination of the lunar eclipse in Pisces, it's also the end of all the tumbling and fumbling and bruising and hurting and pains and misery, the dark ages. It's really Atlantis. We are aware of our power. We're aware we're connected to the world. We collectively as a community would create rain for fun. Okay. Like it was something kids would do on the beach. That's how aware we were of our power. But the earth then moved out of the photon belt. And so that a memory that you can move that muscle completely, retrograded, retreated from our abilities. And so over time, we found ourselves as under the earth instead of on top of it, right? And so, and then from that time, that allowed certain entities to come in and start to, control us, because we didn't have a sense of control of our own life and our own reality. And we went to a complete slavery. And I actually think the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the barrel was World War II. You know, World War II, when we used technology to kill on a mass scale, where we had one party who thought they can control one type of, one ethnic, spiritual ethnic group, like the idea that you're going to be a god. World War II is when, like, oh, we're God now. We control the whole world through nuclear, through communication, and we've been working towards that technology as our God drumbeat until today. I feel like, I don't know how long it will take to see it, but the planets say, sorry, God Universe is not sponsoring that whole I over them. What God Universe is now sponsoring is I am a part of God, and from the bottom up. So we're being sponsored from the bottom up, from the top down. What's sponsor mean? It means no miracles from top down people going forward today. Miracles for people bottom up going forward
Right.
today. And God will just switch the investment of, why are my prayers being answered? Because the collective is not vibing with it. You're borrowing your energy from the collective for your individual expression, and you're getting cut off, man.
Yeah. No more training wheels.
Right. For those who are ready to fly too. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
What's the significance of Pisces full moon? Like how does Pisces get into this? Does it affect, like, what about those who are Pisces?
Okay, so for those who are Pisces, your whole life has been about past lives until tonight. So this is the first moment where you're not cleaning up past lives and you're making new karma. You have been, and so if you're a Pisces in this life, oh, you were skipping out of homework for lifetimes, right? Like, so anyone's a Pisces this lifetime had accumulated so many times where they're like, I don't want to deal with that yet. I don't want to deal with that yet. What about the time you murdered your wife? Nah, another lifetime. So they put off all that stuff lifetime after lifetime, which you have the free will to do. But there comes a point where the matrix or spiritual, this environment can no longer go up if these people won't go up at the bottom, right? And so what happens is the bottom has to go up for the whole collective to go up. I'm not saying bottom Pisces are bottom feeders. Some of them, like I'm saying some of them were damaged by, by wounds. Addiction is a huge thing with Pisces. So they were caught in the riddles of addiction. They were basically caught in the damage from, certain overlords trying to control. And at times, when you have been a victim of an overlord, you then go work for the overlord in another lifetime because you have to see the other side of the karma. So we're talking about karma where I have been the perpetrator, I've been perpetrated against, I've been the perpetrator, I've been perpetrated against. And so there's this complex web that has to be worked out. And so Pisces have been working that out. Now, on a bigger scale, Pisces is the consciousness that is the membrane between reality and non-reality. So Pisces is sort of like a mucous membrane, sort of like a collagen around a knee. Um, down here is Earth, the density. And so the first section of Pisces is what we call our subconscious, like where we're storing all the details of our accidents, injuries, everything, all of our subconscious. And then we go to this next layer, which is sort of like the overall weather patterns, lifetime to lifetime, right? That we have had. Like I've had these patterns of abandonment, I've had these patterns of poverty, I've had these patterns of starvation, or these patterns of abuse. Those patterns like live in this next layer of Pisces. And then the top layer of Pisces is actually all the past lives stored kind of in RAM, all of your past life memories and all of your communications. It's great that I'm at the bottom here. All of your communications to be, the angelic realm, which in this case would be you, and I'd be the poor human here. So your access to the angelic realm, your access to the other dimensions are all beyond the Pisces. What happens is the middle layer of Pisces becomes polluted with tragedies, dramas, pain, all these things, all this pain that basically makes us not want to go up there, right? We don't want to do psychotherapy. We don't want to dig in there. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And so because of all this intertangled confusion in the middle layer, the human race can't get past clearly into their higher self because it's filtered by all those wounds.
Yeah, of the
Right?
past.
Yes, from the past, many lifetimes. So Neptune has been in Pisces for the first time since the American Civil War. 1860 was the last time it left Pisces. Every time Neptune, that's the antenna of Pisces, moves into Pisces, it's a 7 in the sign of 7. Neptune actually allows you to separate your delusion from your visions, right? And that's where Pisces is. Pisces is the vision of what you want to create, or it's the delusion. You've created this delusion vision in order to compensate or get around the pain you don't want to get around. So that's why Pisces can be delusional, or the Pisces energy can be delusional. So since 2012, Neptune has returned to Pisces for the first time since 1860. But Neptune's return to Pisces also with Pluto and Capricorn. All right. So the addition of Pluto and Capricorn says you can heal this crap, and you can also change who's in control. All right. And so that's rare that you can fix both things, because a lot of times what happens is, oh, you take control, but their mess, you're not getting through their mess. They're seeing still Hitler. They're still seeing their past. Forget it. You're not going to do anything with it. Right. Or you have the Pisces influence, like, oh my God, I see the light. But then you have some asshole Pope at the top controlling you from actually ascending. So you have to have like this perfect weather for both to be healing yourself at the same time and taking control of your life simultaneously, the same moment. That allows it to happen everywhere. And there's also another thing here, Uranus and Taurus, which is World War II energy, but doesn't come in this conversation. So this time, Neptune returned to Pisces, Pluto returned to Capricorn. Aha! We have both, aware at the same time. And so this eclipse right now at 29, this eclipse at 25 gives you, because it's 25, it's like Neptune, it actually gives you a pure signal up to your higher self without clearing the junk, because it is the ruler of Pisces, right? So people are going like, no, I was abused. I know it now. There's a clarity because Neptune is tuning the energy to your higher self, lower to higher, and tuning it back into frequency for us, degree by degree by degree. Neptune's now at 28, so it's almost finished its whole tour, clearing out all that crap in the middle layer, right? And all the crap with ourself, which means we face it, which means we no longer allow ourselves, when you clear karma, you're just like, I don't care anymore. That's what healed is in karma. I don't care. When you get to that level, you have detached. You're not holding on to like, they need to know that I didn't mean that. It's like when you're attached to an outcome, you're attached to that. That's an unfinished lesson plan in your whole spiritual growth, right? So
Yeah.
we've just cleared up all of our unfinished business plans. Most of us, and some of us have, but they don't know it. It's like they're in rehab. They're feeling different. They don't know why they're feeling different. They don't realize they're ending 20 lifetimes of being a drunk after losing an arm in an army, or something like that. They don't realize the big picture of it. So I just want to put out there to people. It's like people have written me like, what about my husband? He doesn't believe in this. I'm like, but he might be doing the work. It's like, you don't have to understand how the universe works for you to heal. If you face your shadow, you're afraid to swim, and now you're not afraid to swim. Now you're not spooked by it anymore. You faced your shadow. It doesn't bug you anymore. You did it.
I see this all over society where people, they acknowledge that they've been going through, or there's been a story that's been repeating generation after generation, and there's no need to keep on perpetuating that.
No.
It's the program, and we have an ability to choose, and the possibilities are now open to us.
Yes, we've been shown all the places where we failed to choose. Like right here, whenever this happens, you always fall back in it. When this happens, you always fall back in it. And part of the reason we fall back in is there's other things that build to this. It's a complex problem. One of the complexities is that we have no emotional intelligence as a species. Okay, very little emotional intelligence. It's because we were talked out of it. We were talked as a soldier. We said, "Shut up and give me five more."
Right.
Like shut the. You can't feel.
Or,
Right. And if you went in the clergy, they're like, your feelings don't matter. It's God that matters. Shut up. Quit crying and none. So we, like everywhere. If you're a sailor on a boat, what are you, mighty? It's like, you push or throw you overboard. Like, so we become really stupid and have no coping skills of, I feel this. What do I do? We have no handbook. So the problem with karmic processing is it's your emotions around the issue that are the inflammation. That's the inflammation. That's where the soul's like, I don't know. I don't know. The soul is like spinning, like, should I done it? Should I not done it? Should I marry her? I don't know. Like, there's no answers left unresolved. We go to heaven, we're like, God, I don't know what I've done. And they're like, try it again. Go back down and play the role again. So without emotional coping skills, we haven't been able to heal like we would if we were just a tribe. The emotional intelligence of like an Aborigine tribe, I would say, is 10 times of American, who's living in the world and living in the universe and just dealing with the world with Mother Nature as their signs and animals as their signs. Like they're just interpreting it simply, but they don't know how the science behind it. But they can cope with a lion chasing them, and you can't cope with the end of last year's, favorite TV show. You know what I mean? Like, which is a fantasy. So we haven't been able to clear our karma for a long time because we've been so distracted in our head, thinking our head's the answer, and then we have all the toxins in our environment that are stimulating, that's constantly poking at us and freaking us out, like saying boo and throwing your nervous system off. And the way I look at it, like it's been by design that that's happened, but nonetheless, you can't stop the force of Mother Nature. And so what I found with my clients last week is in the last days leading up to this, and in my life too, a major showdown, in my case with my family, over the core issue I've had with them the entire time. And at the same time, they're yelling at me at the core issue that they have with me. And in that moment, I thought, you know what? We're going to walk away resolved, whether or not we are in the same family anymore. Like, because they have made up their mind. That's it. They can't tolerate this from me anymore, from me. Right. And I'm making my mind like, I can't tolerate this anymore. And even though it's going to maybe end up in it, not working together, again, because maybe it was all for the lesson, we're both walking away empowered anymore. I don't need to convince my family anymore. I'm like, I'm not convincing you of my life. And they're like, we're not convincing you of ours. And what I see in that is like, so we're taking control of the narrative. Right?
We've arrived. We've arrived at.
That's right. I am a son of a bitch and I'm right.
Yes.
Both.
Which
It's
is
both.
the whole point of the whole thing, was so that you both arrive at this.
Correct. And I think sometimes enemies were actually friends playing a bad guy on your behalf in heaven.
Yes.
I mean, when I do readings, I quite often astonish a person like, no, the narcissist actually, you two go way back. You love each other. He just played the son of a bitch in this life because you trusted him to play the son of a bitch. You don't trust other souls to do it.
Right.
Like it's solely a game, a charades.
I channeled a vision of this, but I won't get into that, about why that is so. Like, why do we need hard? It was a big engine that needed hard, like deposits to soft, and then all the other souls, which for me was like soft oil, was a soul, would soften to disintegrate the hard aspects of ourself and within reality. We are forced, or we get to soften around those that give us like a block, and it's all just about clearing those blocks to evolve and soften into more of a oneness. We go more into oneness. The more issues that are around us, the more we must connect with each other and become a whole organism. The thing
Totally, I agree.
I was gonna say that all of this is the thing I like about the Serious Joy app and website and everything is that it gives you an awareness of your emotional intelligence and connection to these energies, because when I'm looking at what's going on in the day or the week, I can correlate it to how I've been feeling and the events that are happening. And like you said earlier, there's like this emotional muscle that we've lost. Like we can go into a forest, like you said, you gave an example of a lion. Like we can go into a forest and not even know what to eat. Like we have no idea what to eat. We, like the native Hawaiians, could like travel like thousands of miles and find islands in the middle of the ocean just based on like the way the waves are hitting the boat or the wave or the weather patterns. We have none of these abilities, and one of them is feeling connected to the energies of the universe that's around us.
Mother Earth, like the air blowing behind you is aware that it's air. It's all God's mind divided into molecules. It's all one God mind, one holy mind that has thought these things up and they've been experienced. But that air molecule was like, oh, sure, I'll be an air molecule for
Right.
for Ra. Sure,
The
there's an agreement there.
and the indigenous people, I've read lots of books on the indigenous people of the Americas, a lot of them, and yeah, there's connections that they have with the directions of the wind. It like
Yes.
comes with energy. And what was I just going to say? I had something amazing. I had something amazing to go on. Um,
Well,
Go ahead.
they can call it. They can create wind. I mean, it's like the rainmaker was not some hokey Indian dance in the desert. It worked.
Right.
The weather was Mother Earth was like, okay. And the ascended master path already speaks to this, as far as also evolved yogis and the Vedic systems of India, that when you are aware that you can command, then you do. So it's like, you command. There comes a point where you command the weather, do this. And that's because you reach a level of spirituality where you feel above the weather. You feel like,
Yeah.
I know what you're doing, you little kid, you little ants down there. So you have this awareness and you have this interconnectedness, and it's designed to reflect who you are. So, so the reason why you see the butterfly flies to you because you want to see the side of you that is a metamorphosis that can become something beautiful.
Yeah.
And so these tiny little micro intentions are drawing in all these, elements. If you start walking the talk, and the weather of the day, the step number of the day, and you play to that number, you will see in 24 hours. Don't take my word for it. Try yourself. Like you'll see the signs, and you'll be like, the first thing you'll do is like, is that real? You start doubting it because it's too real to be real.
The Yes, and then like you said, it's an awareness. It's a realization. I was hanging out Saturday night with a bunch of scientists.
Huh? That's
Nassim Haramein was doing an event in LA, and I went to like a VIP question answer at like till midnight or 2 a.m. I don't know. We were up really, really late. And there was somebody who just wrote a paper. I forget her name. I forget the title of the paper. We weren't allowed to have phones there, so I couldn't take notes because they didn't
wow.
recording anything, because the stuff that they were talking about was like dangerous level of truth, where it
Right.
puts people at risk if they know that we're discussing these things. But this one lady just released a paper published where she's essentially proving that the genes inside of our DNA all have their own consciousness.
Yes.
So and the general theme of what we were talking about in that moment was that everything is aware. It's all connected. Just to validate what you're saying, that science is actually coming to this realization within their own studies. But these scientists that are on this edge, they have to protect their lives because there's so much at stake if this comes out, that we're all connected with a sea of consciousness, and we have access to that through our own portals, through our own flesh suits of a body. then that obviously collapses society as we know it right now.
Well, no, it collapses those who are in control. It doesn't collapse anything. Let me just
Thank
make
you
the
for
record straight.
that. Yeah,
That's the narrative.
right.
That's what they want you to think. Like, you need us. Not true. We don't. We never did. The only thing is, you got up in front of the stage and you started talking first, and the mob that was hurting followed you because they were in pain. And that's why they keep creating events where there's pain, like 9/11, things like that, because we will, in that confusion of trauma, give control of the ride over to an idiot, who has very personal, selfish motives behind it, really, right? And
Hmm.
someone wrote in here, you're not above the weather, you know how energy works and play with it. And I just want to say, at the 3D level, that's case, but no, at the 5D level, you are above the weather. That's what ascension is. So if you feel like you have to work with it, then you're saying, I'm staying in 3D. I have to work with it. It controls me. Stay there as long as you like. I've been doing it for like 20,000 years myself, so it was a fun ride, but I want to control the ride now. So I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, and that's what these levels of D's are.
Mm-hmm.
Are you defining that as dimension, density? Like, what do you mean 3D to 5D?
I'm borrowing other people's terms for things that I feel on the inside and see with my third eye. It's really channels that have whole new worlds. I mean, so they're whole new rules, whole new worlds as you go up. There's different the way things work with one another. So obviously, the big difference between 3D and 5D is the perspective. So we only have 3 points of view here on Earth: right, left, center.
Right.
Right. That's it. So in 5D, we have five. What are the next two? I don't know. I haven't been there yet. I have a feeling it's going to be interesting. Whatever those two new perspectives are, you know what I mean? Like, suddenly two more eyes or two more ways of looking at it or two more ways of seeing in space, right? So to
Right.
me,
And even in physics, we have theories of what like a 4-dimensional, 5-dimensional, 12-dimensional space would look like. They're just theories, though. We don't like we map them out, we make geometry with it, but we don't truly know what the experience is like.
and those who channel aliens, channel God, channel angels and other beings. They all say over and over again, like, we can't explain this one to you. It's impossible for you to see it
Yes.
from your perspective. You cannot understand it. You cannot, an ant from a size perspective of energy cannot comprehend the life of an elephant. There's no way, right? There's no way, right? So that's how it is for dimensions, from what I understand. So you have to just trust and let go and surrender to simple principles, which is your heart being joyful. Like, the rope up is love. So the more you feel love and the more you give to power to love, like, my mind says he's screwing me over, but my heart says everyone should have a chance. There's your right there. Your mind says he's screwing me over. My heart says everyone should have a chance. If you take the mind, you go into density. If you take the heart, you go to the higher perspective. It's in those small moments in your head that you're choosing if you're ascending or not. It's not like, I saved someone from drowning. It's really, I saved myself from going down that rabbit
Right.
hole.
Right. So besides the full moon that's happening, is there anything else that's important that people should be aware of?
This is the whole race to a new dimension. So, tonight is the eclipse, which is where you will basically make to the conclusion: do you forgive, all your mistakes that you've made? This is sort of like a baptism, like a spiritual ascension baptism. Again, I'm not Christian or Baptist per se, although my name is Christopher, so I do love Christ. But um, really, that whole like cleansing and like being reborn, that's what we're going to have happen between now and next Monday. There is going to be a death and rebirth, and for every person, it'll be different. For mine, it was that now that I don't care, I love my family, but now I'm just not going to care anymore. Like, I've just hurt too much in my life. Now I'm reborn. It happened to happen the day I moved to Palm Springs. Like, so my reality like manifested paradise like instantly from the lesson, which was planned from the very beginning. But I've stepped into a new life at the same time. I'm already like living that. Of course, I'm a leader, so I should be jumping in first and telling people. So tonight you have to decide, I'm just not going to care about it anymore. Fuck it. I don't care. I'm not putting care into this or into that. I'm putting care into me first, right? That moment then sets off a chain reaction where tomorrow on Wednesday, the universe goes, okay, well then are you going to let this go in your daily life with Mercury opposing Saturn? So basically this idea carries out. All right, then that means if you're not going to care about that inside yourself, are you going to care about this that keeps happening in your life all the time? And so that's kind of a trap or a sand trap, if you could say, for some people. Like, oh, I guess not. Oh, stop to the bell. Too bad she won't make it to round four. You know, but other people are like, no, that's just a reflection of this. Okay, move on. And so then we go to step 26, which is, okay, do you devote to this new religion, this new spirituality, this new belief of what the cosmos is, Pisces? Like, how's the cosmos work? By the way, we'll do whatever you say it is, but how's it work? Like, we want to know. So you commit tomorrow, which means something symbolically will happen. Like for me, it was committing to going to Palm Springs, even though my family still said they needed me there. I was like, no, I gotta go. Sorry. I've done it. I've paid the dues. I love you. You know, we'll take it up in heaven. You know, but so there's probably this test where same equality of what you feel is always on the line will have to be on the line, the symbolism of your movie, right? That's tomorrow. Then Thursday, um, the sun goes to 27 degrees and trines Uranus, which in simple terms means whenever the sun connects to Uranus, that's when an elephant turns into a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's like a quantum, just like there is everything goes into motion because it's in Uranus. And so Uranus basically reorganizes uranium, Uranus, things being radioactive, Uranus. It's the energy that permeates the existing density and breaks it up, is what Uranus is. So the sun trines into Uranus on Thursday, which means, okay, based on what your shadow is and what you want to devote to as your reality, we're going to fuck with everything going on in your reality, Uranus, and scramble this to reorganize to what you want to be. So for people what that means in a practical sense is, oh, you'll sign the check and not know if she'll ever be back. Oh, you'll tell the job, take this job and shove it and don't know if it ruins your. You'll have to, you will have to be that courageous person to say, I am, and start to command who you are is more important than the results you get or what people say. Who you are is what's most important, not what you have created in the sandbox, which is a huge shift that goes into poverty, capitalism, wealth, abundance, all that greed. It's all based on the fact that fundamentally the core, we chose pleasing reality before pleasing ourselves. That's the original sin. So Thursday is we take action and things move, which probably means that a lot of shit's going to happen, like probably on a big level. I mean, someone took a shot at Trump yesterday again, right? So we're seeing a lot of like people trying to cheat their way into what they feel is inevitable, like, fate's heading this way, and so they're trying to shoot their way out or cheat. So you'll see a lot of that, I think. And then on Friday, if that wasn't enough, the sun then opposes Neptune. Okay, so the sun faces off with Neptune, right? And what that means is Neptune is what's tuning you into spirit. Your heart is what's making that into reality on the earth. So your heart faces the pure broadcast of who you are without denial. And in that moment, because it's step 28, whatever that pure broadcast is becomes the new timeline. You manifest it. So I believe this is the car wash to a new timeline, man.
In 5 days.
It always
5 days.
God
That was dense.
always rips. I know. It always goes like that. If you watch Serious Joy, like for some reason, well, I think God is it's like we work, and then it's rubber band forward.
Right.
We snap and we rubber band because what was really keeping us was our resistance. The universe is pulling you along the whole way. You've been holding on to the old. So when you finally let go, there's like a whiplash kind of change that I find happens. And so, again, how's this practical? So-and-so quits. So-and-so is married now and going to have a baby. So-and-so is like leaving the family because they're upset. So-and-so is leaving the company. So-and-so is retiring. You're just going to see like fireworks launching, all these decisions to just make major changes. And in many cases, like I never saw that coming because it was their hidden, their dark, their shadow. They were hiding it.
And everyone listening to this right now is blessed to have this information so that we're ready, so that we understand we're being like blown out through a hose and And that's not really a good analogy, but there's just a rush of energy happening right now, and to choose, to be aware when we choose.
And I would say too, uh, without stepping on your toes, because you're such a humble and cool guy, you weren't blessed. You asked me. You asked me. I mean, I'm quite sure that we're in heaven talking, and they're like, hey, man, can we hook up down there? Because I always get lost. And I'm like, yeah, I've been having this internet show. What's the internet? You'll find out. Like, I think, we choose to be, everyone who watches you, Ra, has already chosen to watch you, either knowing you exactly or asking God for someone like you.
So it was just a choice for this information to come into our field by our own doing.
Yes.
So you're essentially saying, like, pick up control. Like, even in the language, you can hear the lack of, like I was saying earlier, the internal locus of control. Interesting. Thanks for pointing that out, because
You have to be careful with your language because, spelling is the spell, that you are, honestly, they say command versus not command. The truth is, every word you say is commanding the universe. Mother Earth is this really sweet woman who said, come play in my playground. I'll make anything happen for you, anything. And so it's a loving nature that's bigger than us. And so we come into her energy field, we're in her, and she's co-creating and making this other side of us happen. But she's only making what her babies ask. She's not making anything else, which includes the tragedies.
where does, because me using the word blessed is what prompted this conversation. So where does, because now I'm like, I completely can perceive as you're requesting of me, but then I'm like, I bump into a wall of, like, gratefulness. Like, where does the concept of gratefulness come into this new paradigm?
Gratefulness is you bowing to allow the blessing in. So you have to be grateful to let it in. If you stand tall in your old ways, it can't come in. So gratitude is the attitude of receiving. We are grateful. We should be grateful. This woman named Earth took 100 billion years of her time and decided to be a planet for you. You should be grateful. Are you doing anything for her? Like, there is a gratitude there. Like, God, thanks. Of all things you can do with your time, Jesus, you come down and talk to us. That's gratitude. Like, he didn't have to. It was his free will. His heart wanted to. And I believe he wanted to. Buddha wanted to. All these great people, including yourself, their heart wants to. Um, and because their heart wants to, it is a gift in that way. And you could say it is a blessing in that way. So if you want to define blessing, it's that there's someone in the universe that wants to do the shitty job that you don't know how to do, and they volunteered to do it. That's a blessing. But I think from a human perspective, we see it as a blessing because we don't understand the mechanics behind it. But from what I'm told, learn, study, I'm not just a one-man band. I go out, I look for other signs and other systems. This is a point-by-point, play-by-play action plan that's designed in the ethereal of all the things that will happen. And then it's processed by Mother Earth to serve everyone at the same time, at the same moment, what they need. And you are getting precisely what you asked for. Precisely. In fact, if you are off your own path, that's one thing you should know today. For those who are not awake, by the way, broken bones, hospitalizations, ER, this is happening right now in droves if you're not paying attention or not seeing it. And it's because those people basically said in heaven, like, and if I don't get it, just hit me once and just, yeah. And so they're like, all right, well, that you get pushed over the edge or, break your ankle or whatever. You mismanifested that on purpose as a safety mechanism to make sure you didn't miss the ride. So these last minute tragedies around an eclipse, that is a blessing in the sense that it didn't have to happen. Something in you, or you talked to an angel that told you you could set that up. Like, that was a sophisticated thing that you don't realize was happening.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You're going to be at the LA event on Saturday, right?
I am.
Yes.
I can't believe it. I feel like I've lived a month in the last 3 days. So it's like Saturday. Have you felt that with space time? But yes, I will be there on Saturday. I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing, if I'm emceeing or just doing a piece, but I'll be up there. I'll be running around talking to human garagers and giving them little quick mini readings on their life, and it'll be fun. Will you be there?
If you can get to LA on Saturday, yeah. Chris dedicates so much energy to all of the people there. He like I watch him. He sits down and he's got a line of people and he's just talking to anybody that can get there
Comes.
in front of him.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to be there. Chris is going to be there. The whole Human Garage team is going to be there this Saturday. And then a couple weeks later, we're in Miami. So we've got the 2 coasts that you can get to.
It's OC this weekend, not LA, right? It's a Malibu event and then OC, just to make sure people know. So yeah, it's down somewhere in the OC, which is better than LA vibrationally anyways. Yeah. It just feels better down there. The energy is just more chill. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And then Miami. And I do intend to be in Miami also. So something's going to happen.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be cool, man.
All right, cool. Thanks for sharing everything with us today, Chris.
Thank you, brother.
See you this weekend.
Always love to be on camera with you. Goodbye, everyone, for now. I'll see you on Thursday for Astro Mechanics, same time. Bye-bye.
One.